Okay, hi everybody. Thanks for joining us at eComBlab. Today we are going to be discussing meetups for sellers, why you should join for networking if you're an eBay or Amazon or an online seller in general. I'm your host, Melissa Paz from LazyBreeze Deals, full-time eBay and Amazon seller. We have Roger Keysarling with me, my co-host, and today we are joined by Anastasia, and I'm sorry I can never pronounce your last name.
You're not the first.
But Anastasia is the meetup leader in New York.
Yeah.
So Anastasia, tell us, when did you first start your meetup and why? Just tell us the story around that.
Sure. Well, just for the record, the last name's Andrievsky. It's a crazy Polish name, 12 letters. There'll be a spelling test at the end. So I started my meetup about a year and a half ago, and it's the New York City metro area eBay sellers meetup group. However, everybody in the group loves eBay and is focused on eBay, but we sell on a whole bunch of different platforms. And I actually was inspired to start the meetup because I love eBay sellers. I just think in general, we're an interesting bunch. Anytime I ever go to any meetings like eBay Radio or when they had eBay on location, that sort of thing, I always got such a high, like so inspired and motivated and just like excited about my business and rejuvenated. I'm like, why can't I have that on a more regular basis? And so I decided one day to take the plunge, go to Meetup.com. You know, I saw nobody else was really doing anything particularly active in the area, and I started a group.
That's awesome. I mean, I got to say, I'm surprised that there wasn't a more active group in your area already, being, New York.
I know, it's actually really interesting. There were a couple of groups that were kind of small, and I actually never went to them. I was going to, but the way they were advertised, I'm pretty sure it was for eBay education specialists really looking to get clients. And while that's it's a cool way, I think, to generate business, I wasn't looking for that. I was looking really just to have like a community, develop a camaraderie with other sellers. And of course, I help out when I can, they help me when I can, but it's not really like a one-sided deal. Some of the other groups were. I also think it's, it's interesting, New York City is, I think people have so much other stuff going on that sometimes, the most obvious things don't happen because people are doing 500 million other things. I don't know. I was kind of surprised, but.
Yeah, but it's good that you started it, that you took the plunge. So tell us about, let's see. So but don't you have more than one? So you have one in New York City?
I do. And then about actually in November of 2014, I took over another meetup group that meets in the more northern suburbs. So maybe about an hour and a half north of New York City. Somebody else started it, and for whatever reason, she decided she couldn't, continue it. So I hated to see that dissolve. So I've taken that over. That's still a real work in progress. We've met a few times, but I really need to generate more of a community there. It's a smaller turnout. It's definitely a much more spread out area and stuff. But that's the Hudson Valley region of New York City, or Hudson Valley region of New York. Meetup.
People that haven't ever been to a meetup before, or like me, because I've actually never been to one, why don't you kind of tell how online you would find out about these places?
You got it. Well, Roger, you got to get yourself to where do you live? What state are you in again?
I am in the middle of nowhere in Missouri.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm glad there's Blab and that kind of thing out there for you. So the easiest way to get started is to go to meetup.com. That's meetup.com. And in the search bar, just type, eBay or e-commerce, and you can select the geographic area that you want to search in. And I believe you can also set a mile radius. And you know what? I would join pretty much anything that seems legit and interesting. And just, click join. Sometimes there's a couple of questions the leaders want you to fill out. fill them out, join, and then see what the offerings are. See how often they have events, what kind of events they are, that sort of thing. So it's really, really as easy as that. You might also, if you don't find anything by going to meetup.com, you might want to check out Facebook, and you could do a couple of things there. In the search bar, you could type, the biggest city, or, if there's not a terribly big city, I don't know, like Southwest Missouri, e-commerce meetup, and see if anything comes up, because a lot of organizers actually just do it through Facebook as well. You could also go to
Facebook pages that are dedicated to meetups that people should.
Yeah. Yes.
Do you have those addresses? Does somebody have?
Yeah, I couldn't pull up mine. I mean,
those in there.
Usually if you're the admin of a meetup group, then you might have a separate Facebook group for it, because it allows for easier interaction on a more constant basis. Like the Meetup does have ways for you to communicate with each other, but it's not a public forum. It's more of like a message that you're sending out to the leader and stuff. So it's not really, it doesn't really lend itself. Oh, we lost Anastasia there for a minute. Okay,
yeah,
she'll be right back on. She's still getting used to the app. So she's on her iPad, so it works a little differently.
I've never tried it on iPad at all.
Yeah, I haven't tried it on the iPad either, but yeah. But yeah, so like I have a Facebook group for my meetup. I don't really use it very often. Let me unlock the seat just in case. But I'll post the next meeting that's coming up, the next subject, if there's any notifications that I want people to know, because not everybody, checks Meetup, or they don't get the notifications, but they're usually on Facebook. So it's good to have the both things. So while we're waiting for Anastasia to, here she goes. Okay.
For everyone or just me?
We're back. Hi.
Hey.
Welcome back. It's okay. Yeah, it happens. We've had shows where Roger's sound goes out completely, or just weird stuff. But it's all good.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
So I was just saying, I don't know if you cover this with Facebook. The other thing is to go to any number of the sites that help, like with sellers helping other sellers. I know you guys run and admin a couple of them, or several of them between the two of you, and just be like, hey, does anybody know of a meetup in this area? And you'll never know what info you'll find.
And even a Google search will find stuff. Like I know a lot of my members just did a Google search. They did Orlando eBay sellers or Central Florida eBay sellers. And Meetup does a good job of showing up in the search results. They'll be, the first thing that will pop up for that kind of.
The primary one that everyone uses then, or is there other ones too? Like
Meetup has that niche cornered, I think, pretty much. I don't, it's to the point where I don't know of any other website that does what Meetup does. I'm sure there are. And I know people have mentioned them to me at some point, and I can never remember. So Meetup is really the one.
Just use Meetup.
It is. Meetup has really good branding, but Meetup is, it's organized and makes sure that your stuff shows up on Google. Your notifications get sent out to them. They can add it to their calendar. There's a chat. Like it keeps track of where you've been. It makes it. It's pretty user friendly for us as organizers to use. I think
definitely.
Now, I do want to mention, as members, like if you can join as many meetups as you want, whether they be e-commerce related or health related or social or whatever, and there's no cost for you as a member. Now, us administrators of meetups, we do pay monthly fees, or depending on the fee structure, but there is a cost for having a meetup running, basically for the group. So that's something that if anyone is
like for the service, or is it per
yes, no, it's for the service. So like I think it's $20 a month, isn't it, Anastasia? Or has it changed?
It might be. I think I got a bill recently for like $78, but I think it's twice a year.
I think that's for,
so it's $150-ish.
Yeah.
Well, that's not very much, really.
No, it's not that bad. And you can get sponsors. Like I don't actually pay mine because I'm sponsored. So Dana Crawford sponsors mine with her Power Selling Mom and her websites. So she handles the bills. And in turn, then she can use it to advertise her webinars and her services and her things like that. So I have it covered that way.
And just, sorry if I could just interject for a minute.
Go ahead.
Bubble Fast, I believe they're still doing it, are contribute, I believe, $75 a year to Meetup organizers to become a sponsor. And there's tons of any of the e-commerce sites
providers
and stuff. They're definitely worth hitting up and just explaining.
That's good. You're promoting a good company, and that's about what, half the cost of the year. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You'll get
Which
3
is great.
sponsors. Hey.
Yeah,
there you go.
You have to have a few sponsors. So that's something that we run into as organizers is getting the sponsors. But yeah, it's very useful to have, and then we can use those funds for other things like swag or running little giveaways and things like that, which is pretty cool.
Builds up your meetup because if you've got a good sponsor and they're like, oh well, here's some eBay tape.
Exactly.
Here's some swag.
You got eBay tape. Come to the meetup. That meetup's going to get really big.
Yeah, it does help. I went to Carmi Docton's meetup once. And it's about an hour and a half from me, so it's northern in the area, more north in the area of Orlando. And they were giving a bunch of swag. I remember getting my first eBay measuring tape there, and I was very happy about that.
Melissa, I just want to back up for 1 second, just so there's no confusion. So, you're 100% right that as just a random person to join Meetup, there's no cost whatsoever. But some Meetup groups do, so that's just to go into Meetup.com. Some individual Meetup groups do charge an annual membership fee, or for instance, in my group, for certain events, I will charge a small fee, something like $5
like
per
if
person.
You've got a guest coming in or a special event, you're like, hey, this
Right.
Meetup. Well, probably you're paying the guest for their time or hotel or whatever. So, you try to make it all roll around. So it pays for itself.
There
Exactly.
are circumstances, depending on where the meetup is being held. Some of us, we might be lucky and have a free venue for it. Like the library that I use is free. I know, Anastasia, I think you're using a restaurant, right?
No, actually, I have a sponsor that's giving me space. And that's
nice.
Actually, I mean, we could talk about space in a moment because that can be a big obstacle. But
but yeah, exactly. So sometimes we can have it free, but then other times, there may be a small entrance fee depending on the speaker or the event or the location. There may be other costs involved with holding the meetup.
You know what I ought to do? I know the manager of a 54 bar and grill. They run the outside patio bar and grill. That would be a great place to get a meetup because I always get coupons and discounts anyway when I eat there.
Yeah.
Like 20.
Restaurants are a good place to do it just because in general, as long as you have a certain amount of, hey, Kathy, thanks for joining us, of people in the, having food, if people are ordering food, then usually they won't charge you for the space. But yeah, so let's talk about
something there. At least it's worth their time. Yeah.
Exactly. So usually restaurants like it as long as you're, you're telling them in advance the numbers that you're expecting, and you kind of, you work out a deal with them. But for the most part, they like it. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about spaces. Anastasia, how did you find your location? Did you have to try different locations before you chose one? What happened?
I sure did. So my very first meetup was held at a Panera. The New York City situation is probably pretty unique. I imagine like San Francisco and maybe LA would be really hard, but I think New York, space is at such a premium and is so expensive. But anyway, I would definitely recommend for somebody just starting out, go to a place like Panera. You might have to go a few minutes early. The Panera I chose is pretty busy, but you just kind of gather a couple of tables together because you know what? There'd probably only be maybe 5 to 10 people at your first meetup. So I did it there, and then it started to grow, and it's a little unpredictable in my circumstance, but that's a great place to start. So you could do Panera, Starbucks, any kind of place like that. The one caveat I have to that is really, in the meetup description, I'd suggest you encourage people to buy at least a drink. once they get to the venue, say, please buy a drink, because
well, that's just respect.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I actually, as the meetup grew and I needed to have more dedicated space and couldn't be running around trying to take tables while people were bussing them and stuff at Panera, I explored a variety of options. And where I really concentrated was looking at co-working space. So those are the places where somebody might pay, $50 a day or, $300 a month. And a lot of freelancers will go there, and it gives you the chance to work in an office and have all the amenities of an office and have kind of coworkers, but you're still doing your own thing. So a lot of those places have meeting spaces and that kind of thing. And so I made several cold calls. Nothing came out of that, but just like with so many things, eventually I met somebody who works for an e-commerce group called Suredone, Suredone. They're actually my space sponsor, and they work in one of these co-work.
In the link, anytime
you can type.
Or something, you
can type in the link, and that way we can take a look at it later. Yeah.
Cool. Suredone. I'm doing it right this second.
Yeah, they get they get a free ad.
So, it's one word, but anyway, I'll fix that later. And they wanted me to, they were interested in getting the word out about their business, and they were tenants in one of these co-working spaces. So we talked, and I asked if they wanted to be a sponsor of space, and they did, and they've been fabulous. So we have really cool meeting space, kind of lower midtown, so it's pretty central. It's a really cool space. For the smaller meetups, when we have 10 or 12 people, we have a nice little intimate room, has like the highest tech stuff, Apple TV, huge big screen TV. It's totally set up.
Sweet. Yeah.
And then when we have like a bigger event, last week we had Jason Smith from the thrifting board come and speak, and we probably had like 40 or 50 people, and they have a bigger room for that. So they've been really, really great about that. So for anybody out there that's looking to get space and it's hard, go around, see if there's, any kind of small business or maybe even like a chamber of commerce or something that would be willing to be a sponsor of space. It doesn't cost them anything.
Right.
They have to keep the doors open for you.
Yep. And I'll tell you a little bit about my story with finding space, because it's a big deal when you're a meetup leader and you're starting out and you have no clue, because usually this is probably like the first thing that we're doing, that we're looking for a space. You know what I mean? Like, at least for me, I had never tried to organize an event or have a group being run anywhere specific. So I had no clue as to where to go. And I did do Panera a couple of times and Starbucks. My first meetup was a bit of a mess, because I had arranged with the owner of a local thrift store that said that he had a large space in his store that he was willing to let us use as eBay sellers, that he would be there and that he would be part of the meeting and that it would be fine. Great. So I go over there, and the owner of said store had left, did not tell his employees anything, did not contact me. I had just spoken to him maybe 2 days before to verify. Nothing. And I had people there waiting and expecting to have this meeting, and I'm about to lose it. So we ended up going to the local Starbucks. And
now, how stupid is that? Owning a thrift store with eBay sellers knocking at the door and not show up.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, are you kidding me? This could have been really good business for him. I could have been bringing him customers that are specifically interested in his stuff. And it was a good location, and there was definitely the space for it. But, the employees couldn't let me stay there without the owner being present. So I couldn't stay. I think we've got eCom Chicago doesn't have any audio. Let me just reply to them.
I was writing your browser.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Just restart your browser, and you can log back.
They can't hear you.
I'm very tired. I've been working really
hard. I know. Don't worry. It happened to me the other day. I was like, I can't hear anything, and I'm here giving them instructions, and I'm like, oh, my God, they can't hear me. Yes, but refreshing usually does help. So hopefully, I just typed that up for them. But yeah, I mean, we ended up at a local Starbucks, and after that, it was kind of the quest to find the perfect meeting space. A lot of places here in Orlando, they want to charge you ridiculous amounts. Like I contacted a few hotels in the area and whatever, and they wanted to charge $300 per room and I'm like, no. And then I tried a few different restaurants. Some were okay, but when you get bigger, you start wanting to have some of the tech that Anastasia was mentioning earlier. You want to have a screen, a projector. You want to have a more private room or private area. And some restaurants do actually allow for that, but others don't. So it's just kind of finding what works for you. Eventually, I hit with the public library of a few miles down. And they actually have 2 rooms that I can get depending. One, the bigger room has the big projection screen and space for 40 or 50 people, while the smaller room, which is what I usually end up working with, it has for, about a dozen people, and it has a nice TV and a whiteboard that I can use. No projector, but usually I can connect the TV or anything like that. So, there's different options, public libraries, restaurants, businesses, finding a sponsor. And you might start in one place and then you go on to another. And I think after you've got that down, then it just becomes a matter of being consistent, right? Anastasia, what about
Definitely.
you? You have like a set schedule, right? You have yours like every.
No, we actually, I have it. I try to do it once a month. I have to say the summer was a little slow for me. It was a little erratic, but I generally try to have it Monday through Thursday in the evening. But my next meetup coming up, which is October 9th at actually the eBay New York City offices, is on Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. But that's because eBay, we're meeting with a manager in the seller department. And so, So, yeah, so that's, it's kind of, I'm flexible. We actually also had a meetup this past Sunday. We had a brunch celebrating eBay's 20th birthday. So in general, I try to do Monday through Thursday in the evening. And I try to do something about once a month.
In a large city like, New York, there's, I'm sure, a whole lot of meetups going on and always trying to find a space for them. If you had a centrally located place, like a bar or restaurant that you were working with, and then you had made arrangements to have other groups that have meetups all showing up at one location.
That could be a party.
If it was centrally located and you had all these different types of meetups all going to that one business, that business would boom. So maybe that could resolve several groups' problems about finding a place for a meetup. If they all got together and say, hey, there's 6 groups here, at least twice or 3 times a week, all of us are meeting. Why don't we approach the business together and do it as a package deal? I don't know how much meetup leaders communicate, but obviously
not a whole lot. Not really. But the reality is that meetups, the topics of meetups are so spread out. Like ours are,
nothing to bring them together.
Yeah, there really isn't. So the first time that I've communicated with other meetup leaders was either because I've gone to their meetups because they're in my area and it's the same subject. So, Dana is a meetup leader, Carmi is a meetup leader. But then the other time that I met other meetup leaders was really when I went to the Meetup Leader Summit in eBay, and I met Anastasia there, and we met the rest of the group. I think there was about 20 of us, was it?
Yeah, I think actually a little less. I think it's like 15 to 20, 15? Something like that. 15? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So, and we were spread out all across the country, but that was something that we did actually discuss. Meetup leaders don't really communicate very much because we're all kind of busy running our own groups, and there's so many different topics. So like here in Orlando, I get notifications of new meetup groups like every week, at least. Some new meetup popped up with, and maybe something that I'm interested in. I can't join them all. I can't participate in all of them. And a lot of groups will actually die out or not have any activity. But those that do, they can be a huge boost to your business or to whatever it is that your goal for the meetup is.
That's a good question, though, for me. If I'm, like I said, I haven't been to meetups. I've briefly looked. But if I'm briefly looking, how can I assure that I'm not going to drive? Because for me, a drive everything in. So how can I make sure I'm not going to drive an hour, hour and a half and get to a meetup and it's probably not one that I want to go? How do you filter those on the Meetup site?
Well, first of all, it's pretty easy. When you do the search, you can read a good long description of the group, so you'll have a good feel, an idea of what the group is about. You can also take a look at
if you're reading that description. Would you look for its length or if it's got
links? Yeah, I mean, you can look at past events, so you can get a history of what the group has done, and you can see if people have gone to these events or not. You know, if you're seeing that there's only 1 or 2 people, then it's not going to be worth your time. But and of course, it doesn't have to be 50 people for it to be a worthwhile group, and those numbers might not reflect the reality.
They've been coming over and over. You know that there's value. Yeah,
and there's rating, like the events can be rated.
Oh, it has a rating thing.
They have a rating system.
That's cool. That's cool.
So, and you can also. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you can also contact through Meetup, you could contact other members. So if you've seen that one member has RSVP'd or attended, 3 different events, you could email them and be like, hey, I'm a long-time, full-time eBayer, or I'm just starting out and interested. Right. Do you think this would be cool for me? Or whatever, whatever your question is, you can reach out to them that way.
Yeah. So, Roger, if you were to go to my Meetup site right now, I'm looking at the homepage just to know. It'll show you what we currently have scheduled, what our upcoming shows are about, and it'll also show you recent meetups, and it'll tell you how many people attended. There's photos, there's the ratings that we get. So it gives you a really good feel for whether this is something that is active, whether it's really live and continuing to grow, and what's going on within the group. So I think that you can, get a pretty good idea. There's discussions that you can look at. There's photos. There's, you can look at the sponsors. So there's a lot of information before you determine.
That's rather an impressive page. Everything I wanted to know was right there. Even, some videos and some pictures. That was pretty.
Yeah, so it definitely gives you. So I take a look, and I'm like, okay, is it going to be worth my time and effort to go? And I usually find that it is, unless nobody else shows up or there's only like 1 person. But I'll tell you one thing.
Blab.
Yeah, Blab. I might have more people on Blab than I will on a Meetup. But I'll tell you a few stories from my Meetup adventures. So that very first Meetup that I had, that was pretty chaotic, right? But it was still valuable because I met a member whose name is Chris Williams, and we are friends now. And he's the one who taught me about Amazon FBA. I did not know Amazon FBA existed before that Meetup. And he introduced me to it, and it doubled the amount of money that I was making online pretty quickly. And he's been a friend and a mentor, and he gave me access to being able to get liquidated lots from a very, very good source that I would have never been able to get on my own. So the networking, and that was the first meeting, and there was only a few people there, because of what happened. Half of the people left before we even decided, okay, let's just go to Starbucks. So I ended up it was just me and 3 guys this first meeting. But I learned invaluable stuff, and hold on, why do I hear like a buzzing? Okay, never mind. So that was a good thing, and then I met Dana through it as well. And Dana Crawford has been, huge mentor for me. She's helped me so much. And it's through eBay meetups that I eventually got to go to eBay headquarters. I mean, I never thought. Did you think you'd get to go to eBay headquarters because you started throwing a meetup? Of course not. It never in a million years. And our meetups are pretty new and pretty small relative to some of the other groups. But we are active, we are persistent. So, and I'm not saying that throwing a meetup is going to get you a plane ticket to eBay headquarters. Disclaimer. No. And you can't do it for that reason. You got to go, the reason no, exactly, right? No, I mean, I started mine for the same reason. I wanted fellowship. I wanted camaraderie. I wanted to learn from other sellers because I was very new to e-commerce. And I wanted to surround myself by people who knew what they were doing and to possibly help out in any way that I could as well. And it's just led to bigger and greater things. But, if I had never taken the plunge or attended the meetups, who knows? I could still be working my boring day job.
One thing I just wanted to say, is I think the whole concept behind meetups is really, really consistent, particularly with eBay, in terms of it's all like based on, eBay founded itself like on the sense of community, was, and that's what meetups are. Meetups are a small little community. Meetup.com creates a platform for communities of all different kinds and sizes and shapes to form. And so I think that's, really why the Meetup Summit that Melissa was referring to that happened in San Jose at the eBay campuses in November, I think that's why it happened, because I think that eBay really was, is excited about the eBay community and how, the Meetup community and how that can kind of help the eBay community.
Well, from what I understand, I've only been selling on eBay since 2012. From what I understand, before that, they had the eBay Live events. And then they stopped the eBay Live events, and then Meetup kind of has taken that place. Is that kind of a correct understanding?
I don't know. To me, I didn't even know that eBay Live existed. I didn't know that eBay Radio existed. I didn't know about the Facebook groups. I didn't know about, there were so many things I was completely ignorant of. All I knew how to do was do an eBay listing and do a little social media marketing around it. That was all I knew how to do.
That's how I started.
You know what I mean?
I picked up.
Yeah. But it was searching for that community that then I decided, okay, let's do the Meetup. I think that one of the reasons eBay is so interested in Meetup, eBay as a corporation being interested in meetups, is that meetups are kind of like a feeding ground. Like you get it, so many new sellers come to meetups because they feel that they're going to learn from somebody in person. While, longtime sellers feel that they're going to get that connection, that camaraderie, those networking opportunities. They recognize that there's value in that. So as Meetup leaders, we're facilitating and we're promoting the eBay brand to members new and old, and kind of helping people that maybe, I've had the situation where people are just kind of, maybe they're frustrated or they're kind of stagnant or they're stuck. And going to a meetup has helped them get out of that rut. You know what I mean? And I've had other meetup members.
Time we did a Blab show at Meetup, I think a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Everyone was talking in the background, and I could kind of hear it, and they were all excited when they were leaving. Like, oh, I'm going to go home and list. I'm going to go home and work on this.
Yes. There's this energy.
Energy combines. Yeah.
Yes, there is. We all feel energized. Like as soon as I finish a meetup and I'm in the car going on my way home, I immediately have to call like 3 or 4 people because I'm so revved up. I need to like talk about it.
Right.
Because otherwise I get home and it's just like I have to release that energy, But what's been mentioned in the chat is that they use our members to get the word out for free. So you don't have to fly out employees. Yeah, exactly. What better marketing than to have people that are organizing groups specifically to promote your website and to teach other people how to sell on it, So yeah, we definitely do a lot of groundwork for eBay for free. So it was really nice that they, decided, hey, let's get some of these meetup leaders in, get their opinions. What is it that they need? What are their challenges? How can they help each other out? And we definitely did that, didn't we, Anastasia?
Absolutely.
That's great. I hope they continue. I hope, eBay's attitude, you can tell from the 20th party, is definitely about paying attention to the sellers. And the best way to do that is get them together in a room. You can do it online. We do it in Facebook groups all day, every day. And it works.
Yep.
But when you get people together in a room that came to that room for the purpose to meet and grow and learn, not just randomly searching and find it, but actually want to go there, the results are fantastic. I'm going to eComBlab. I'm going to eCom Chicago my very first one of those. Now that's not a meetup, but that's, you know, a convention.
But it's kind of going to be like one.
It's going to be a giant meetup.
Really exciting.
A big one. Yeah, it'll be a huge one. But that's definitely kind of, you'll get that same energy. You'll get that same feeling, you know, because you're going to be on this sort of kind of like a high for a few days or weeks, because yours in particular is going to be such a big thing. But it's definitely a lot of positive, you know, and you'll see that people will come in and out. Some members, they go the one time, they got what they wanted, they're gone, they move on. Other people come back, and, you know, you develop friendships, you develop network opportunities that you would have never have known. And you'd be surprised what can come from it. You know what I mean? Like, so anytime somebody's like, oh, you know, I've never been to one, I don't know what that's like, and I'm like, go. It's so good. It's so positive to just meet people who have the same interests as you. And I'm not just saying about eBay. I mean, this could be applied to anything. I've been to meetups for, I happen to be vegetarian. So there's a huge vegetarian community here in Orlando, and they do meetups like several times a month. And I've been to several, and it's been so nice to share with other people who have the same background or the same understanding or the same philosophy. So, you know, don't think that just because, you know, yes, we're talking about eBay and Amazon, but no, this applies to anything. You know, like I know there's meetups for mommies, and there's meetups for crafting and for health and for exercise, to go drinking wine. You name it, there's a meetup for something. And if there isn't, you can make one.
Wine, there is.
Yes, there's plenty of, I don't know, I'm sure there's plenty in New York too, but at least here in Orlando, there's like a lot of like, let's get together and bar hop or go to this wine room,
go to the
or
beach.
stuff like that. Yeah, so
I've done a lot of social ones too.
Yeah, there's a lot of social stuff. Yeah.
I just want to, like, on your coattails, Melissa, just also suggest, so anytime, I mean, start out your local meetup. It's going to be very either free or very cheap, even including your travel time and whatever you have to, you know, spend for that. So definitely do that, and do that regularly and often. Meetups are great. I also just want to make a plug though for the conferences, like, you know, the eBay We Are 20, that was amazing.
Oh, amazing.
Like I was at eBay Radio in Vegas, and eCom Chicago's coming up. I'm sorry, I'm going to miss that. But any of these conferences, even, okay, I know I hear a lot of times people say, oh, well, it's the same, you know, speakers over and over again. You know, sometimes there are several speakers that are the same, you know, you'll hear again and again.
Yeah, there's some overlap,
Well,
but often they'll change.
But the market changes. You can go to a conference in 6 months, go to another conference in 6 months. That same person may be speaking, but I bet you they're telling you entirely new information in 6 months.
Exactly. And even if they're, usually they do, even if they're not, you might be hearing, even if whatever they're saying, even if it's the same exact thing, from a different perspective. So I really, you know, and I have been to, you know, some seminars, and there's, you know, I have heard kind of the same information over and over again. And I have heard some people complain about that, but I really urge everyone to kind of like move outside of that, because you can also bring your fresh perspective. And it's also just about like being in the environment. So yes, what you learn and what you hear from the people on the stage, I think is really exciting. And I try to implement as many things as I can to make my business grow. But it's also just the environment of being there, of being in a space of other entrepreneurs, of people that are excited about their business. You bringing your perspective to whether you've heard this stuff before or it's brand new to you. It's always like exciting. So I really urge people to go to these things as much as you can. I mean, obviously you want to, and you know, it could be like a little carrot. You could kind of say, all right, you know, I'm going to set a goal for yourself. I'm going to do this many listings within the next 3 months, or make, you know, gross or net this much money. And if and when I do that, I am going to treat myself by flying out to Chicago, by flying out to Vegas, whatever, you know, whatever.
To me, it's amazing to be with other people that sell. I live out in the farm. My neighbors are cows. You know, the city, 45 minutes. I source 45 minutes from where I live. But you know, it's pretty rural, and nobody else. I mean, there are other sellers in this area, but they are all pretty much thrift sellers, or I call thrift sellers, vintage sellers. I shouldn't call it thrift, because some of them are actually antique consignment shops and whatnot. But those sellers around this area, and a few of them I've heard have had meetups. But basically, I'm so busy. A meetup would be great. I can go online, pick it, arrange it, and go do it. But when I'm here and I'm working on eBay and I run a pretty big store, I'm really kind of alone except for my social media contact. There's no real person that gets excited when I go outsourcing except for myself and maybe friends that know me, and of course the store manager because they're making money. But when I'm trying to talk about selling something online or hiring a listing, hiring a person to do listings, I can't do VA. I need a person on my location. Well, I'm not going to do a meetup to hire someone to do listings. I could, but I'm not going to do it that way. I don't want just random people. I want to pick who I want. So if I get to go to these conventions or I get to go to a meetup, at least at that moment, I get to get the adrenaline from other sellers. I get to get information that I can't just go to the person down the street and ask. And it's like, okay, if you're changing your shipping, how do you do this? There's nobody here to ask. If I ask online, I'm asking very publicly. So you have to stay and answer several questions, because after you get your question answered, and answer the 30 that come after it, you know?
Right.
So, but at a meetup, I can make my list, ask a whole bunch of questions, get my answers real quick, and not have to answer all the 30 questions.
But Roger, you know, you could just even, you know, talking about getting somebody like a listing help or whatever. One, at meetups, you can find, you know, great information. I think that's where I first like really heard the concept of getting a virtual assistant, the process of getting them, different ways you can use them, that sort of thing. And you don't, I mean, you'd be surprised. There's people in my meetup group in New York that I'm pretty sure, I couldn't swear to it, but if somebody like a big seller came and said, you know, I'm, you know, talking about I need more help, I need to get listing up, you might even find people that would want to freelance for you. You never, and I'm not saying that's true.
I mean,
you never know.
I'm thinking about trying to maybe do some local ones, because I'm not going to do one just to come here so I can hire you.
Right. Oh, no.
No. But you could start a meetup for that, Audrey.
Oh, come here and let me show you some of the marketing tricks I know.
Exactly. You could do something. You could cover marketing.
That. Oh, you're not making very many sales? Well, how would you like an extra 450 listings this week to do?
Exactly. There you go. Yeah, but you never know. I mean, you could even ask them like, hey, do you have a teenager that lives close by that needs a little extra cash?
Bopper that doesn't need a lot of money, but can come in, sit at a computer, not have to be explained exactly how to operate the computer, but just sit down, type it out, and leave. You know, because I don't need the pictures. I don't need any of that stuff. I need someone to sit there and measure the thousands and thousands of clothes that I will not list because I hate doing the measurements. That's what I need.
Yeah, I was getting teenagers to do that.
2 anchor stores in boxes.
Yeah.
Not here.
Oh, Lord.
In another house.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. No. But you know what? For a while when I was doing women's clothes, I hired my sister's best friend who was in high school at the time. And I was like, I made them a spreadsheet on Excel. I gave them an iPad and I'm like, put in the UPC, put in the basic information of the clothing so that I know which one you're talking about, and put in the measurements for me. This is what you need to do. I gave them like a chart and the measuring and all that good stuff, and they did the measuring for me because it was too time consuming.
On software, or did they just email it to you? I thought about all.
No, I mean it was on a shared Google document.
Oh, just Google Docs. Fill them out.
Yeah, it was And
then you just copy and paste.
I had a spreadsheet. Yeah, it was just a spreadsheet and it had for them to fill out like the brand, the type of item. If there was a name for it, then they would put in a name, the UPC code if there was a UPC code, the color. So just enough information for me to be able to identify the items, basically, and then, you know, waist or length or inseam if it was a pant. I had to learn about measuring clothes because I had no idea, and then I had to teach them how to do it. But yeah, no. So I know a lot more about clothing than I did before.
I know too much about clothing. I started with that on eBay, at least Barbies and clothes, and boy, I learned the hard way how to measure.
Yep. Yeah.
Way.
Yep. So Anastasia, tell us a funny story. No, that's okay. Tell us a funny story or something that you learned or something besides the eBay summit, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Right. Just something inspirational.
Well, I have many funny stories. I don't know if I have any eBay meetup funny stories, but actually I know one of my my members and a friend I made through my meetup, Carol's here. So Carol, if you think of anything funny that's happened, just, jot it down. But
or something interesting. Something,
I mean, I just
something you learned, anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, just something.
For me, I think there's just like an overarching thing I learned. Like, I thought about starting the meetup for months. I mean, probably a year. I thought about it. And I think I was in touch with like Betsy, and she suggested, there was somebody that started it kind of offline on Facebook, and I got in touch with that woman, and she didn't really respond, and that's all right. But anyway, it's just one of these things that I thought about for a long time. And then finally one day I just did it. And it was easy. It took like 3 minutes to, sign up for it and start. So, I mean, my overall like kind of inspirational message would be just do it. Don't think about it.
Just do it.
Search for it. If there's not one in your area or there's not one that's active, just make one. You know what? We're all risk takers here. We're all entrepreneurs.
Yes, absolutely.
Worst case scenario, nobody ever comes. And that's not going to happen.
Somebody always shows up, man. Somebody always shows up.
But it's, it's worth it. It's worth it. And people will come and it will be fun. And I just have to say, like, I really enjoy my members. Like, I made friends. I've, established friendships. I've established business relationships. I've been exposed to just all different kinds of products. Like, we have people in my meetup that deal with all kinds of stuff, new merchandise, a lot of vintage stuff. Somebody that does rare and precious like jewelry. So I mean, that's kind of cool to have access to somebody that knows about those things. We have people that literally source 100% of their stuff from garbage, which is kind of amazing. And
the dumpster
divers.
Wow. Stores throw stuff out. If, like, for example, right this week, Family Dollar is having red tag clearance. Whatever's red tag is 50% off. Whatever's done at the end of that, if it's high dollar, some of it gets shipped back to the manufacturer. But if it's only $2 or $3 or $4 item, all in a box in the dumpster. Find out when they get off work and just let them hand you. I'm not diving in the dumpster. If I was broke, yeah, I would do it. But I'm not broke yet. So hand me the box.
In New York, though, there's...
Yeah, but I'm not jumping in the dumpster. Not anymore.
But there's stores that were like Louis Vuitton, like the high-end stores. Yes. One of my my members, she gets stuff from Anthropology all the time. Actually, it's funny. The sponsor, somebody that works for the sponsor of my space, he hadn't really been into FBA. He's, kind of toyed with the idea, and we were talking about it for a few minutes. He left the meetup, after it was done that evening, and a few minutes later he texts me and says, "You'll never guess what I just found. CVS was throwing out some kind of photo paper, and the list price right now on FBA is something like $127, and they just threw out 10 packs of it." Something crazy.
God, okay, I know exactly what they threw out. That sells like boom, 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 boom online.
And it just literally, he probably would have walked by it, but it just, as Carol said, who's member of my group and a friend of mine, it's just a really eclectic group of people. I mean, it's like New York City, got all ages, all races, all sizes, all sexual orientations, all different kinds of, part-time, full-time, just starting out, have been selling for 100 years, selling old stuff, selling new garbage, selling brand new stuff, people that list 20 items a week or people that list 20,000 items a week. It's just, and you never know who you're going to meet, and it's just cool. So, I'm sorry I don't have one hilarious moment to point to, but
they all blend together.
They all blend together, and I always learn so much. And at the very least, I leave being like, okay, I got to go home and list. All right, I'm gonna, I'm gonna do it. I'm going to try out whatever we talked about, you know, and it's always great. It's always inspiring, always fun.
It is. And, you know, like I've had many times it's just been 2 or 3 people that show up, you know, like, yeah, I might get lucky and have 10, 15 show up. But even if it's just 2 or 3 people, but they're very interested in the subject, and they, you know, sometimes it could be brand new sellers. So I'm kind of in the teacher mode, and that they're so grateful and they're so sweet and they're so appreciative. And then other times I might find sellers that are on my same level or who are, you know, much higher. And then I get to mingle with my peers or learn from somebody who knows more and teaches me, you know, something that I might not imagine. In my last meeting, I actually it was a little bit of an interesting story. This was just last Saturday. One person that came to the event was somebody that we met here on Blab a few days before, and he had been with us with Roger and me on a Blab the night before, and he actually came to the Blab live, to the meetup in person with his wife. So that was awesome. And then the other person was a repeat member.
Wow.
Yeah.
He was a very good seller.
Yeah. Is he? Okay, I haven't actually checked his site. I should, but he seems like he's taking it seriously.
Yeah, not.
And then the other person who came, the elder gentleman, Roger, that was there. Turns out that he is the owner of a $40 million company, and I had no idea until the end of the meetup. We were just that was kind of like sitting towards my left. Yeah.
2 down.
Yeah. Well, no, the one that was next to me, not the one at the end.
Wow. Him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Owns
what he was
the one from that was. Yeah, he knew what he was talking about with the door handles and the knobs and stuff.
Oh, I couldn't believe.
Yes.
40% return on that one.
Wow. Yes. So he actually has a company. His company sells $40 million a year.
Wow.
And he's got warehouses in 3 different places and like 200 employees. And he was part of the Internet Merchants Association and all this other stuff. And he's like this big time person. And I'm like, and you came to my little meeting with 3 or 4 people? But he was told about the group at eBay 20.
Oh, cool.
Cool. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
So I thought that was awesome. I'm like, that's nice. I don't know who told him, but I'm like, that is really cool.
I've been getting all kinds of communications about the lab show too. Hey, we got him in.
Yeah. Hey, Rich.
Hey.
You got in.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Just move. Yeah, there you go.
Don't be doing all of that stuff to me. How are you guys?
Great. How are you?
Look at my shirt.
Nice.
Meetup.
I got one of those.
I use the pad that they gave us that says Meetup.com. I slap one on the door every time I have a meetup. So like that way they know.
You can enter any information you want into the little chat box.
On the sidebar. Yes.
For your meetups or businesses, you can stick that in the little chat box over there. And that way, when people watch these in review, they can see your information.
Yes. So, yeah, Rich, if you want to put in your meetup website, the link to your meetup, you can put it on there.
Okay.
You can put the link to the eCom Chicago event, too, if you want.
Yes.
Well, that's actually filled up, so I'm
oh, yeah, it is full. Never mind. Yeah, we're putting the meetup.
We're going through a lot of issues here trying to get the people on the wait list, and it's just it's much more than we anticipated. I'm very grateful, but you can't put 5 pounds of crap into a 2-pound bag.
I could try.
Right down the street. I mean, I signed up pretty early, but I lollygagged because I hadn't got my airfare yet, but I got all that done. But I got a hotel right down the street. You can see where the building is from the hotel. I think it was a Motel 6. It wasn't very much, and I think they still have some spaces. But they were filling up fast when I called, and that was the day before yesterday.
Yeah, when I run these events or whatever, when I try to run the events, I try to get the hotel. Now, when we did it last year, I had a different situation because when my time ran out for my block of rooms, they went up like $100 a night, and it was just like people were very upset with me. So this is working out. There's a lot of different locations. If you want high end, there's a Westin. If you want a Marriott, it's a little bit of a travel, but that kind of staying is not a problem as much as it is the putting the people in so we can have a facility that people can enjoy and have fun with. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'll talk about Meetup and what I could give you my take on having like 980 members and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, ours are tiny in comparison.
Well, and what I put in there before, it gets a little bit challenging trying to have a speakers or people talking to people that are high-end sellers and those that are maybe just starting out or have never sold at all. So being that I teach people to sell on eBay, I like to get the people in that are interested in learning a lot more, and they can network with the big-time sellers. So it's a good way for them to get excited, but on the other end, it can be quite challenging too. So we have to try and figure out, and that's why I'm really liking, as you guys said earlier, what we talked about when we were in San Jose in November is the Skype thing. To be able to Skype people in November, I'm having our good friend Lynn Drawley coming in, and
cool.
And that's always exciting to have people. And then we've tried to expand into the Amazon and doing all of these things, but it's to get somebody in there that is not trying to sell a product, and you're trying to just get educational for the people, and it's hard to put that balance in, I guess. And this last month meeting that we had was absolutely awful. I mean, I was so excited.
Oh no! What happened?
Well, my wife and I were so excited about coming back from the UR20,
right?
And the good majority of the people in my group had never been there or didn't go. I only had like 2 other people, and so a lot of people didn't really give a darn about it. So it was pretty discouraging. It really was. It was. I was a little bit upset about it, and a lot of talking going on behind the backs, and a lot of clicks going on. So
a lot of people being jealous that some of us were chosen.
Well, you know what? I told some of the big execs when I was out there that, you know what? I hope you stay true to what you've said, because people are so used to getting burned, and sellers, I'm saying, and don't really believe you. And you guys know that. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this, and I know things don't happen in a minute and overnight.
Right.
But when you say these things, man, we are so used to getting burned with these seller updates, and so I'm really hoping that it does turn out very, very well for the sellers. And so I think most of the people just think it's the same old mumbo jumbo, and they're going to wait for the March or spring release, and somebody's going to burn us again with something.
Well, I think one thing though, I mean, is that there's a lot of positive talk, and but there actually were things put into action. So I hope that whenever we're dealing with other sellers that are like, oh, eBay's not going to really follow through on this, like they're already doing it, and so that was really exciting for me. Being, with the latest release, like all of the changes, I think just one of the changes would have been amazing. But it's like, wow.
I think eBay has been planning before the 20th party, I think, for probably ever since that release came out, the one that caused the drama. I think that after about 6 months after that came out, I think from that point on, they have been pretty much trying to figure out how to recover it. So I know when they came out at this party, and they said these things, that's the entire company and corporation now focused on those objectives they gave us. So I'm actually very excited. Hi, a little upset.
She's all upset, so that's why I've muted. Yeah, but Kelly, say hi.
My biggest take on that is the one with the defects. I mean, that is huge. I mean, especially things, you know, like, I mean, there's only like the 2 ways to get a defect now, really. And, you know, again, and the other one is the shipping end of it, because we have awful problems with our postal service here. I was just there today, and I mean, these people are, you know, this is the third product I've shipped to somebody. Thankfully, I make them, and the other 2 are lost. I mean, they're like,
you know, I run across that all the time. I'm a volume seller. I buy and resell, and I sell a lot. And I ship all the time. Every day I'm at the post office a couple times, you know, a lot of packages. I'm actually not too upset with the performance of the post office. But what got me was, if you're shipping out, you know, 100, 200 things, and one of them gets lost, one of them the buyer says they didn't get, even though the tracking says they do, you refund both. So you don't want a bad, you didn't want bad feedback. And then you get a defect for those. Then you call to get it removed. They say they're going to remove it. If you don't call back and check, sometimes it's not removed. I actually lost top seller 1 month for over that. And when you're shipping at my volume, that little 20%, it was a huge amount of money. That entire month, I did not turn a profit. Just over defects. I was scared. I was really upset. Yeah, but it was only 1 month, and it's over. And now they've changed their policy, so we move on. But yeah, I love eBay, and I will.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'll be able to get my TRS back with the changes that are going on.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Could be good.
Oh, yeah. I mean, have trouble at the time.
Yeah. Well, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, because I know how long they take for most things, so I put that in my handling time. The luggage companies are actually really good about shipping same day or the next business day. The shoes take a little longer, but it's something that I do specify everywhere. You know, like I give those like 3 or 4 or 5 days handling time, because it usually takes them 3 business days to ship it out. But just returning back to the meetup, you know, I know what Rich is talking about. It can be discouraging sometimes when you go through all the effort to set up a meetup. There's a lot of work involved as an organizer. You know, you have to find a speaker, find a location. You know, there's effort that goes into it each and every month to keep it interesting, to keep it new, to keep it exciting. And sometimes, you know, I don't think this is Rich's problem, but for me, it's like I go through a lot of work and then I only have 1 or 2 people show up. Or Florida weather, people decide that a 15-minute shower means that they can't leave their house. You know what I mean? And I'm over here like, seriously?
It rains every day at 3 o'clock.
It rains every day. It lasts 15 minutes. You could have left the house. It's okay. But with Rich, like, I know it's discouraging, but in general, though, like I don't think I would abandon my meetup, even though it's small. It might not grow as much as I would like out of it. I'm going to keep on going as long as I can. Like, what do you guys do when you feel those times of, you know, oh, it's not working, or it's being a lot of work, or people are not being as responsive as I'd like? You know, like, what do you do to overcome that?
I think just for me, like, kind of just keep pushing ahead, trying different stuff. I kind of feel like I think like back kind of maybe about a year ago this time, I was having some trouble scheduling speakers and stuff, and so I just tried like different things. And I mean, there were a couple of things that were like fun and easy to do. Like we had eBay listing parties, and so it's just, you know, everybody bring like 5 or 10 things, and we'll just hang out and eat pizza, drink wine and beer, and list together. And we probably just chatted more than actually getting work done. But so I just like, you know what? It's the same thing that happens when you have a day with no sales or few sales, you know. And that happens to all of us. No matter, you know, there's always a day where you're like, oh my God, is the internet dead? Is eBay offline? And it's like, what do you do? Okay, so there's a variety of options. You could like cry and like turn off your eBay store and say, okay, it's done. It's not worth it anymore. We don't do that. What do? We either list more, we do social media, we maybe go through and, you know, run a sale, try different stuff. And so I think that's for me, like, just try different stuff. It could be different kinds of meetings, maybe different times of day, maybe it's also like lowering your expectations. You know, it's just like with your eBay store. Maybe thinking you're going to sell $500, you know, worth of merchandise a day is unrealistic, you know, in your particular circumstance. So just maybe having 25 people show up the first, you know, consistently to meetings your first year is not realistic, and just lower those expectations, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I'll tell you, one of the things that I found about having mine is consistency, having them on the same, try to do it the second Wednesday of each month. I have it at a time that's convenient in the evening, which I know is maybe hard for you, Melissa, with kids and so forth. But I have in the evening, and I also locate them in a place that has food for people to come, because I get a lot of people traveling. So we have a limited menu that I've made arrangements with. But I have gone through, I can't tell you how many venues to try and find a place that will agree with you. They don't believe you when you're going to tell them, hey, you know what, I'm going to have 40, 50, 60, 80 people here a month for dinner. And they're like, yeah, right. You know, okay. So I finally found a place that understands that, and they're working with us. But this has been many years. But being consistent and having the same date and times really seems to help. Now, October I've changed because my meetup is going to be our Chicago, eCom Chicago. But for the most part, it's the second Wednesday of each month in the evening. We start at 6:30 registration, and I think consistency is a good way to instead of changing around. I heard you say change a date or whatever. I don't know. You could try doing that.
Yeah, well, I think it depends on the size of your group too. Like Anastasia's and my groups, they're relatively, like, how many group members do you have right now, Anastasia?
I think it's like 250, or it might be totally inflated. It's whatever. It's 250 or less.
Right. Like
no, I lied. 164.
Oh, okay. Yeah, mine
250 soon.
Mine's about that. So yeah, mine has 130 right now. So it's easier for us because we're small and it's just a few people. So it's not going to upset that many people's schedules if we schedule different dates. Like I try to keep mine on the third Saturday, but sometimes I push it to the fourth Saturday of the month. And they're at 2 p.m., which is not the most convenient time for a lot of people. But the library isn't available for very late hours. So if I were to do it at 5, I'd have to be out by 5:30 or 6, and that's not realistic.
Yeah.
So that's
the
just
other
kind of the thing.
I mean, another question I have, like I know most leaders say like consistent days and times are the way to go. My one concern about that as I grow is there's also people that will say to me, it's like, you know, these 5 people, can you have it on Saturday morning? Somebody over here, I work Wednesday night. You know, so that's my one thought, and I don't know how like accurate or relevant it is, but if you have it different times and different days, does that help facilitate more people coming? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
I don't know. I think it depends on how flexible you are as well, because if you can have more than one meetup, then you could do like, okay, well, we're going to do one on Saturday morning and then we're going to have another one on Wednesday night. You know what I mean? Like have one in the beginning of the month and one at the end of the month. And that way, like I've thought about doing that. It's just, it's more time than I'm willing to dedicate at it.
I'm not really into the meetups. I haven't even been to them yet. But I'll tell you this, with me, when I look to do something, I want to make sure that it's going to be at the same time, same bat time, same bat channel, same bat place every week.
Okay.
I'm too busy to alter my schedule. So I don't know. I think that's a give and take thing. Some people, maybe changing times around might stimulate more people to show to the meetup. Someone like me, I would go to one. If the next one wasn't scheduled about the same time, probably never see me again.
We'd lose you. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I think
that's my opinion. But I'm, like I said, I haven't.
You haven't. Right. But I mean, I think there can be a happy medium. Like I've found that if I have my consistent meetup, it helps. But then I can throw in something random and be like, let's do something fun. Let's go on a shopping spree. And no, it's not going to be at Saturday at 2 p.m. It's going to be, I don't know, Tuesday at 5. And because it doesn't matter. We're not doing it at the library. I can do it wherever. And, you know, I had
a regular scheduled one.
Yes, but it's like a bonus.
Our monthly Friday. But this month we're going to do one on Wednesday. We're going to do
something extra. Exactly. So like I'll usually schedule something different that's just as an extra activity that we're doing or as a bonus meeting type of thing. So I'll do that every now and then. And those are usually fun.
That I would do. If I had a regular, I knew these every month at this time, but then there was a special event coming in here or wherever.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, I think it's harder when you're a bigger group to be that flexible. Definitely when if we were at Rich's scale, I don't think I could pull that off.
Rich, how many people come on average to just not like a grift type, you know, just a kind of a regular everyday sort of meetup?
We have the room set up for 80, and it's usually 80 or more, even though my meetup says less. We get consistently recently we've been getting on average of 15 to 18 no-shows. So, but of those no-shows, there's people that are just showing up. So
cool.
We we have that many, and you know
that's right. Yeah.
It is good, and we do times when like Griff will come in or whatever, and we once in a while we'll do 2 in a month or whatever and stuff. But when we have those extra events, we do charge for them. Just so you know, I mean this is going to be an event where Griff is going to be there, and a meal is included or something, and that's the way we kind of do it with that. But it's worked out well. But we've been doing it a long time. You guys that are starting, you can work with. I can tell you this: no matter what you do, there's always going to be somebody that's going to tell you, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do here? Why don't you hold this downtown Chicago? Or we could meet somewhere in Chicago and go over here, or we could do this and that. And I tell everybody, you're more than happy. If you want to start a meetup in your neighborhood, please do. We've had 2 people that did try that, and it didn't really work for them, I guess. But I can't change what I do. We work all day. I leave right from here to work to go to my meetup to set everything up, and it's literally a zoo for 3.5 hours. It's just really kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Look for Panera Breads or some places that you might be able to hold something where people come and grab a bite to eat, because people are afraid to come out. It's kind of funny because they don't know what you're doing and they think you're going to try and sell them something like a multi-level or something. So
wow.
Yeah, we had that at Panera when we started. We'd have the people, we'd start the meeting on the side, and then all of a sudden you'd see the people come from the booths that were like, oh, they're really not trying to sell us.
Right. They're just trying to.
And I don't blame them,
Right. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to have to start wrapping this up because I'm supposed to be going out for dinner. And
I love you.
Well, but yeah, I mean, this has been really, really great. Did you guys want to do any parting words of wisdom for anybody who has never been to a meetup like Roger?
Come. And so I was not even, this is my first blab ever. I have to say I had a blast. I made this little sign to hold up with like my information, but I know I can type it in now. But anyway, I just wanted to show my handiwork. But come next.
That's good for Periscope.
That's what I was,
for Periscope.
But join a meetup. If there isn't one, start one.
Make one.
Those are my words of wisdom.
Yes.
You will get so much out of it. Just do it. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My name's Anastasia, georgestoychest.com. You can, email me or whatever from there. I'm glad to give you any advice, walk you through it, give you a pep talk. Just do it.
Exactly.
Join or start.
Just join or start. Definitely. I mean, I had a good time going to several before I decided to start my own. And, I've learned so much from the members, from the other organizers, from the speakers. There's always something you can learn. And usually there's always something that you can give forward and teach. And that's just as rewarding sometimes, So
definitely.
I think it's great. I think Blab is probably the next best thing because you are seeing people face to face type of thing. But there is a lot to be said for in-person interaction versus just chatting or talking on the phone or Facebooking. That it's a totally different level of energy and interaction.
Yeah. I agree with you, Melissa. I'll just throw my 2 cents in and I'll get out of here. I've had so many people tell me that getting out and meeting other people is just incredible. and I'm actually going to do, eventually here, the 5 reasons why you can afford to go and do things instead of, I hear so many people say, I can't afford to go to your event. What can you do for me? Can I give you a deal or whatever? I got to tell you, it's something that you're going to learn from somebody. You're going to sit next to somebody who may be $1 million seller. You're going to talk to somebody that you wouldn't even have a clue. That's the same thing I met when I was out at the We Are 20. I mean, I'm talking to this guy that's got the 5 million feedback on eBay, and talking to his wife, and it turns out my wife bought the iPad cover from his company.
Oh, that's funny.
5 million feedback, and I'm like, well, what do you sell on eBay? Well, it's like 25 million or something, whatever. It's
like whatever.
In about 5 years. 10 years.
There you go. I like that idea.
Yeah.
So you're going to meet some incredible people out here, but it is. Join a meetup. If you've got any questions, feel free to call me, talk to me. I don't go. Hi, Dana.
Dana came in. We're about to shut down.
Dana came in. I missed it the other day. I missed it. I tried to get on, but I didn't make it.
Yeah.
She's a rocking person too. So,
Dana is awesome. And I just wanted to mention, Dana, she helped me start it because I had no idea where to go. I checked on Facebook and I started going into different websites. Different Facebook groups and be like, hey, does anybody know of an eBay meetup in the Orlando area? And so nobody knew anything. And Dana contacted me. And at the time, I didn't know who Dana was. I'm telling you, I was really clueless back then. Didn't know who Griff was. Didn't know who Dana was. Didn't know who anybody was. And Dana was like, oh, I had tried to start an Orlando meetup some time ago, but I needed somebody that could run it because she's a bit further away. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And then at my meeting, the first meetup that I go to, the other sellers are like, you got Dana to help you out? Oh, my God. You're so lucky. She's so great. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know I was working with a celebrity. And it's just been great. Dana really has been super helpful. And I also want to give a quick shout out, since we are talking about meetups, to Stephanie, who's not here right now. But Stephanie Inge did start the first eBay meetup. So we owe a lot to her. Yes.
And she has a book here.
She does have a book.
Which you can get on eBay, Amazon, etc. And it is called Step-by-Step Success Guide for the Meetup Organizer.
Exactly.
It's really, really good. So
It is. I got a lot of good pointers from it. I learned some features that I didn't know Meetup even had, and started to use them. So, all right, guys, I got to go before they start yelling at me over here. But thanks so much for coming on, everybody. This is being recorded, so the replay will be available in a few minutes on Blab, and it will go up onto our YouTube channel as well. So if anybody wants to watch it later, you can. Thank you so much for coming on, Anastasia. Thank you so much, Rich. It's good to see you guys again. Roger.
Thank you.
Pleasure always. Scotty, don't break my necklace. And I will see you guys very soon. And of course, I'll be chatting to you all on Facebook. So take care, you guys. Have a good night.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Okay, Callie. Okay. Bye. Talk to you later, Roger.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Callie.
Bye.